So yeah, so in this next 2 days, like today and after one day, means after 1 week, I'll try to cover all the Gen AI related concepts, starting from some basics AI. We have already gone through the LLM foundations, but the history of AI and what is the Gen AI, which are the tools available, whether we should use the cloud models, or we should work on the deploying the self hosted model, or we should try to create our own custom trained model, and why we should choose which route, that I will try to cover. And in the next week we'll try to do some hands-on building some of the application using the AI capability. So let me share my screen, and I'll go. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have just documented some of the basic things, like, okay, we already know what is the evolution of AI, correct? We had AI, then we had machine learning, then deep learning, and then Gen AI. So I'm not going in the definition of each, but this has been already taken care in the previous courses. But if I'll give as a quick refresher, so if we go about the deep learning, so you have one input layer, and there you provide some data, and there are some hidden processing layers are happening, correct? So there it has been trained with a different rules or algorithm, and then you get the output. So this is one deep learning, and then we have one AI, where you have in the AI also there are two kind of thing. One is your discriminative, and second is generative. So I'll be covering the generative AI part only, not the others. But if you want to see how it is different from the existing discriminative AI, that so in the discriminative AI, like, okay, if you have anything and you want to say that, okay, whether this is correct or not correct, you get some answers. It does not create any new content. It only classify, like if you are having any mail and you want to detect whether it's spam or not. So it will simply say that, okay, this mail is spam or not spam, and it can also provide a ranking or a rating, correct? This is my number, and based on this number only, I'm saying this is a spam. But in the generative AI, it can also tell that, okay, this is a spam because it look like it contains this, and it will also try to explain also. So all these things make some little difference between your normal discriminative AI and the generative AI. And mainly, if you see the use cases or any example, so till now, whatever the spam filters, fraud detection, we have using those comes under discriminative AI. But now recently we started using GPT and other LLM models. Those comes under the generative AI. And generative AI is not just only for generating a text. We have seen mainly that, okay, we started with the GPT-4 launch, the chatgpt, you can say, and there we started giving some input as a text, and we started getting output as a text. But it's like a generative content. It's not always like, okay, every time you give the same input, you might get a different answer, correct? But the generative AI has multiple other capabilities also, like you can use it for a text where you want to write it for emails, code, or summarize any documents which you have. And if I take some examples, like what are the models, like you have a GPT-4, Claude, Llama, and the same for, there is a generative AI available for images also, where you can provide some input as a text, and it can generate image based on the whatever the model you are selecting. So, and some models where that DALI, now the Gemini Nano, the banana model, they are capable of creating the images. Same goes for audio, video, 3D code. Like there are n number of things you can do with the generative AI. And why this matters? It's because by using the Gen AI, we can improve our productivity, like our personal also and our teams also. And the second thing, it can be used for, let's say, if you have to do any research or any discovery, or you want to compare your product with your competitor, you can leverage this. Instead of you doing all the research and reading all the papers, you can leverage that. And the third thing is like the automations. So whatever things we do as a repeated steps, like we follow some rules. I think we were discussing about creating some code based on some guidelines. When we
Varun, can you move this window? एक बार ये meet वाली को थोड़ी दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है यहाँ पर. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm saying like whatever rules we follow, we can try to automate also so that it can detect, it can have one brain saying that, okay, if this is the condition one, I need to do this, and if this is the condition two, I need to do that. So the below image which you see, this is generated based on whatever the text you see in the top. And if I had to explain, I use the notebook LLM to generate image. So you can see how good quality image it has created based on the content. So again, it has not hallucinated because I just provided you need to use these whatever the content I have given above, and based on that, create one infographic, and it has created this. And the whatever the things I was explaining, it has a clear representation of, okay, in the discriminative AI, you provide the input data, you get some label whether it's spam, not spam. But in the generative AI, it creates something new with the same data which you have provided. Okay, so this is what I will be covering, like how we can.
क्या prompt यहाँ prompt क्या दिया था तुमने, क्या बताया?
So I'm not given any prompt. I just uploaded this text in the notebook LLM and told that, okay, create infographic, and it did actually. So that they are trained, and now if you have to build a similar kind of system for yourself, or maybe in the next week, I will cover that also. So let's say you have some prompts and you also have some guidelines that, okay, your team should always create a design diagram in this format only, correct? They should use blocks or whatever the icons you have for your component. Instead of everyone thinking that, okay, which icon to use, which color to use, all those things you can create as a one your own custom agent, and just provide that, okay, I want design page to be created for this use case, and you just write in your natural language, and whatever the rules or guidelines you will set, it will create on behalf of you. So that will cover how to do that, and but this was done by the notebook LLM. Okay, so now let me go to the next part. So this was like giving you just some intro. So for this, what I thought, I have whatever the concept I wanted to explain here. I created some small markdown file for each, so that if in future I want to update also, I can do it, and it will not be like any image. And from this image only, I'm creating the means from this text, I'm creating the image. Okay. So now let me do this again. So let me know if this pattern is okay for this group, or you want some other pattern, because this is the first time I am presenting, so I'm not sure whether this is okay or not.
The pattern, you mean this documentation?
The way I'm trying to, I think you were using with the Google Doc, and I created with a different way, and I'm not going in the depth of that, okay, how exactly this is working, but my main thing is that how we will leverage this thing in our use case.
हाँ, मेरे को बस एक ही चैलेंज है, मतलब वैसा कोई नहीं, फॉर्मेट इज ओके, वो जैसे एक शेयर रहता है ना एडवांस में, तो आई हैव टू नोट लेस थिंग्स, अभी मुझे ज्यादा नोट करना पड़ेगा.
But I will share after this actually, because I told my system was not working that the previous one, so I had to rewrite everything again, but I did not get a time to push it to.
मतलब ये मिल ही जाएगा, जूम करके चलना है, हमारे पास आ जाएगा.
After this call, I think before EOD you will get all the content.
और ये तुम बोल रहे हो नोटबुक एलएलएम यूज करके किया है, मतलब वो उसका क्या मतलब है? हमारे पास जैसे मेरे पास करंटली बस जो ऑफिस का जेएनएआई वाला है ना, वो उसका एक्सेस है बस.
No, I think in the Gemini they have the. Let me open that also. So you go here, correct?
हाँ, Gemini में गए फिर.
This is Gemini, and the similar way you have a notebook also. Notebook LLM.google. So here, if you go and click on try notebook, and the thing is here you can create whatever the things you want to do. So let's say this is one of the thing, and whatever the content you have, you upload as a source, and then ask it to create infographic, or you want to create a flash deck, or you want to create a video overview, everything it will create. It will create based on your content. So this is a Google product. So instead of I creating that presentation content, I leverage the notebook LM.
Yeah, I think this is very good. I have not used it earlier, but
yeah, this is very good. I will also give you one more example where I created a video also, and it did the same thing.
इसका मतलब मेन कब यूज करते हो नोटबुक? जब तुम्हें क्या बना, इन्फोग्राफिक एक चीज बताया, और
no see whenever I have to present my idea, and I need, instead of I thinking that, okay, which icon to use, what layout to use, correct, what font family to use, but I know this is my content, I'm good in, I have a technical skill, but I don't have presentation skill, let's assume, correct. That time I take a help from this notebook LM.
Brilliant, बढ़िया.
So the content is mine, but the presentation is coming from this notebook LM. So they have already given a prompt that, okay, whatever the model behind the scene they are using, maybe it's trained with the multiple previous design skills, and based on that, it is able to create a good content. But that also, if we have to create our own, how to do that, that also I will show you in a code also.
So what is the primary use case? Matlab, you can use it for taking notes or yes, right?
The primary use case is like, let's say currently if I'm preparing for some interview for a big company, and for that I need to read multiple books or multiple papers, let's assume, correct? And instead of I reading everything, but if I use ChatGPT or Gemini and I ask that, okay, explain me how the load balancer work, it might give some answer which might be correct or not correct. I don't know what is their data source, but I know I follow Design Guru or I follow Grokking, I follow Educate2. I want to understand from that website content only, but I don't have time to read everything. That time I use that, okay, I downloaded those content as a PDF, upload it here as a source. Then I tell that, okay, give me 10 pros and cons of this design system. And if I have to explain this to my junior, what should be the strategy so that they can also understand, or if I need to explain this to my leadership as an executive summary, correct? So which approach we are going. So then it will change the tone and it will change the content also. That time it will not go in depth. It will simply look into, okay, they are interested only on the numbers, that, okay, what will be the impact? But the juniors are interested to learn more in the depth. So that time,
so this is working like a LLM plus RAG on top of it.
Yeah,
so whatever content that you provide, it will use it to give you information.
हाँ एग्जैक्टली वही है. सो बेस्ड ऑन सोर्सेस जो है ना आपका इन्फॉर्मेशन जनरेट होगा. सो बेसिकली मैंने इसका यूज केस जो अपने तरफ से देखा है और मैंने किया भी है. इट्स लाइक आप इसको रिसर्च पेपर्स दे दो और व्हेन यू क्लिक ऑन दैट ऑडियो ओवरव्यू या आई थिंक वीडियो ओवरव्यू कुछ तो था.
ये वीडियो ओवरव्यू इट विल क्रिएट.
तो ये क्या कर रहा था ना, एक जैसे रिसर्च पेपर मैंने इसको दिया था एक, तो उसके बेसिस पे इसने पॉडकास्ट जनरेट कर दिया. देयर आर टू पीपल टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर और वो पॉइंट बाय पॉइंट डिस्कस कर रहे हैं उसमें से कॉन्सेप्ट्स को स्टेप बाय स्टेप. वो बहुत ही अच्छा था. यू कैन यूज इट. काफी सही है.
जनरेट कर दिया या कोई लिंक शेयर किया पॉडकास्ट का?
हां, पॉडकास्ट का नहीं, उस वो जो ऑडियो ओवरव्यू था ना, जब वो फाइनलाइज कर लिया इसने अपना प्रोसेसिंग, तो वो ऑडियो आपको वहां पे फिर लिसन कर सकते हो.
ओके ऑडियो.
आई डोंट डाउनलोड दी.
आई एम गोइंग टू शेयर दैट आल्सो, जस्ट अ सेकंड.
तो मुझे एक चीज बताओ, जैसे कि आपने इंटरेस्टिंग है काफी, रिसर्च पेपर अपलोड किया और उसमें एक कंटेंट था, उसको लेट्स से उसमें कोई टर्म्स हैं, जार्गन्स हैं जो उसमें एक्सप्लेन नहीं है, तो जब उसके बारे में पूछूंगा तो वो इट विल गो बियॉन्ड दैट आल्सो टू फाइंड आउट थिंग्स, या दैट्स द स्कोप? डॉक्यूमेंट जो इनपुट दिया है उसका बियॉन्ड नहीं बताएगा?
हाँ, नहीं, वो तो उसने जो फाइल जनरेट कर दी ऑडियो फाइल, तो वो तो उसमें जो कंटेंट आया वो वही है. उसमें कुछ क्वेश्चन आंसर हम नहीं.
ऑडियो की बात नहीं कर रहा मैं. जैसे कि मान लो हमने डॉक्यूमेंट अपलोड किया, उसके बारे में कुछ इन्फोग्राफिक जनरेट कर लिया, फिर मैं कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूँ कि कैन यू एक्सप्लेन दिस टर्म इन डेप्थ, जो उस डॉक्यूमेंट में नहीं है, तो उसके बियॉन्ड भी जाएगा फिर वो, है ना? नॉर्मली
वो डिपेंड करेगा जितने आप सोर्सेज आपने उसको स्पेसिफाई किए हैं, उन्हीं सोर्सेज में ही वो इन्फॉर्मेशन लेगा. इसकी अलग से कोई नॉलेज नहीं है.
Yeah, notebook LM is meant for that, but if you want outside of that, you can leverage Gemini or ChatGPT for that purpose. Take that as a reference and give it.
वो इंटीग्रेटेड है वरुण इसमें, या वो हमें अलग से करके फिर कंटेंट इसमें डालना पड़ेगा?
वो अलग से करके अभी तो मैंने जो अभी तक
इंटीग्रेटेड नहीं है. ओनली
फर्स्ट थिंग व्हाट आई डू, I make sure whatever the content I am interested, that I do my own research, correct? I need to read this paper, that paper, based on whatever the people I follow. And but I don't have time to read everyone's paper, so I download everyone and then upload it there, and then it gives me that, okay, combine, because most of the thing will be common in all the blogs. I just, but there will be 1 or 2 points unique based on their style. So, but if you combine everything and get the whatever things you are interested, it will help and it save a lot of time. And let me quickly share my screen again.
So Varun, this is interesting. So अगर मैं इसको थोड़ा सा summarize करना चाहूँ for my understanding, so it's
Ankit sir, your voice is breaking.
like कि जो GPT है, Gemini है, they are like general purpose, है ना? They are like general purpose, है ना? मेरे को I can ask anything, but वहाँ पे huge context है. वहाँ पे जो x axis है वो -infinity से +infinity तक डेटा हो सकता है. लेकिन अगर मैं उसको कॉन्टेक्स्ट को मिनिमाइज कर दूं बहुत ज्यादा जिसके अराउंड मुझे चाहिए, तब उसके लिए हमारा नोटबुक हो जाएगा जितना मिनिमाइजेशन।
हाँ, मतलब जितना लिमिटेड कंटेक्स्ट होगा उतना बेटर रिजल्ट आएगा। मैं भी वो प्रैक्टिकल के साथ आपको दिखाता हूँ मैंने क्या क्या किया है, विच वन गिव मी द बेटर रिजल्ट आल्सो।
इसमें सिर्फ हम डॉक्यूमेंट वगैरह अटैच कर सकते हैं, कोड भी अटैच कर सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल
एनीथिंग यू
अगर मैं रिपोर्ट दूं और मैं पूछूं कि कोई क्या क्या डिजाइन पैटर्न, क्या एब्स्ट्रैक्शन लेवल, एनकैप्सुलेशन वगैरह यूज कर रखा है, तो इट विल टेल मी।
Yes, but that you are already able to get it from your cursor or VS Code extension, the GitHub Copilot, correct? So those where if you are with your editor, you don't want to copy your code and put it in some other tools. So that's why you have cursor and everything, so that whatever the place you are doing coding, you get the answer there itself. But if you are reading something, that time you don't want to again download and as a text format or the markdown format and then put it in your cursor. So that's why there are different ways to use LLM.
ओके, मतलब बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक और बना के स्पेसिफिक प्रोडक्ट ऑफरिंग कर दी उन्होंने।
हाँ, correct. Yeah, let me share again. Just a second. So I was showing that, okay, what I have created. So this is the one video I just created. I think it was done 2 hours before. Let me know if you see. And this is again whatever the content I have given. So first thing I've given the same content and ask it to create infographic, and then I ask that, okay, I want to create a video and
Hey, this meeting thing is showing on top. Can you minimize that?
One second. Anyone saying anything? Sorry.
No, Varun, this meeting meet.google.com, that we cannot minimize that, right?
This pane, the small pane,
That
you can move.
Let me move
Just
it.
hide it.
Now it's clear.
That's fine.
So see, I'm just trying to showcase what are the things I use, and then in future we will also showcase how you can also use it. So this is the same text, and I asked that, okay, create a video. So it created a 6-minute video, and let's see.
इस वीडियो में कोई मतलब साउंड भी आ रही है क्या?
Sorry,
मतलब कुछ साउंड भी है, मतलब वैसे है, मतलब
आवाज नहीं आ रहा था क्या?
अच्छा, मुझे आवाज तो नहीं आ रही।
आ रहा है actually.
Okay. Then what I'll do, I'll download this and I will upload in the WhatsApp so that to save the time. But the thing is, the same content which I had in a PDF format. So first I uploaded all the PDF, and then I asked that, okay, from that PDF create a markdown content. And once it's created the markdown content, and from there I asked that, okay, create a video. Means I did not ask, I just click on it, and for each thing it started creating. Okay, I just need.
दोबारा बताओ क्या क्या प्रॉम्प्ट थे आपके, क्या था, क्या क्या किया?
No prompt. I have not given any prompt. I just uploaded my content, what I have. Okay.
ठीक है.
This is the big PDF. So one thing I'll show you again one more time. So first time what I did, I had one big PDF. This is a merged file. It is around having 200 pages. So, but when I ask it, is not giving me the correct content, because it said that, okay, I will give you some content, and it tries to read one line from each page, like some from line page number 62, page number 61, 60, like that. But I thought, okay, I need a chapter by chapter, correct? So I have uploaded all the files here. If you see this side, all my files are uploaded this side here, okay? Whatever the file I have, I uploaded here. And then I'm saying that, okay, because it's based on content by content, now for this lecture, whatever this lecture we have, create a training content in markdown format and with image and flow. So it gives me this content. But this content is good for me to put it in my markdown file, but I want to create some infographic also. So I just click on this infographic. Not written anything. By default, it will have their own prompt, and it created the images like this. And I will show you what are the images it has created, and you will see the things. Just a second. So all this poster, which I have it here. This you see all the images only, correct? Not.
Yeah, I can see. Yes.
This is for the chapter 1. Then it created for the second chapter a visual guide to the generative AI revolution. Then the third one is like navigating to the world of Gen AI. So whether we should use the some enterprise model, or we should use the open source AI model, or we should do the our own custom models. So all I will cover in detail, but this is like if I have to present, this is the one slide I can showcase in a big screen, and then I can keep on talking. Correct. So it helped to catch audience also. So now you see it here that okay, this is the art of prompt. What should be your instruction, context, input data, output, and what kind of prompting technologies there, like zero shot prompt, few shot prompt, chain of thought, prompting, chaining, all those things, and what are the configuration we use. So all the content I have given, and it just generated the some good image. And the mastering Gen AI, like a guide to advanced prompting technique, caching, whatever the things I wanted to explain with the good examples, and then smarter, faster, cheaper, advanced prompting technology. And now that was just using the LLM, but I have to also explain you how I can integrate with the tools, how we can get the real-time data integrate, and how can I create agent. So for that also, it has created a good infographic to explain the concept. And the same goes for that, how you can keep your AI as a safe, what are the prompt injection, prompt leaking, jailbreaking, and what are the solution available for that, input guardrails, output guardrails. I will cover everything, but it created the images for everything. And what is an LM, the 3 stages of training process: pre-training, instruction fine-tuning, your preference fine-tuning, and then from data to dialogue, what are the things we do. So, and when we have to build, which Python library we'll use, because mostly I think we all are coming from the backend side only. So instead of you learning JavaScript, I thought let's use the Python, where Python comes with some package like Fast API, Streamlit, to create a good backend API and the UI for your small simple use case. So all these things has been done from the simple text only. And this is what I will be covering one by one.
Okay, I think Varun, I think this is good. I think in fact, so I think introducing this tool is pretty good. I think मैं भी try करूँगा इसको use करना.
Yeah, मैंने कभी आज तक यूज नहीं किया, but it looks brilliant.
Yeah, so yeah.
मेरे लिए I thought this was pretty obvious कि everybody will be familiar with Notebook LM.
हाँ, correct. That's why even I will not.
इसका मतलब ये कुछ भी obvious नहीं है, जो पता है पता नहीं है.
ये मतलब यही है कि हम हमारे डिस्कशन से ये चीज क्लियर हो गई कि nothing is obvious. Maybe for few audience it is obvious, but to others it might be very.
नहीं तो so I will just tell you right a little bit. So इसमें infographic generate करने का मैंने ये देखा था कि so Google Nano बनाना right Pro which has come. So there they have trained it to generate these infographics and all. And I think infographics are very helpful to quickly get an understanding or summary of anything that you want to read, right? एक high level broad view बहुत easily at least मिल जाता है. But I was not sure कि इस तरह का tool exist करता है where you can do. मुझे लगा कि I'll just have to log into Google Nano Banana Pro, give prompt to generate this.
No, there is a problem.
Very integrated, matlab, in that sense.
In that, Kunal, so there is a problem if you use Gemini, Nano, Banana, anything. So there you need to explain that, okay, I want the image to be like this. It should have background, like a green background, whatever. It should have people. Means you need to think and tell. Then only it will create based on your instruction only. And also there is a high chance that you will see some, if it has a text content, there will be some typing mistake also, like a typo will be also there. But with the notebook LLM, what I've seen, because it's not doing anything from outside of your source content, so there is a very less chance of having any typo, so that people won't be able to catch it also, that, okay, it's this person has not done his homework itself, correct? Before coming to presentation, he's showing some slides which have the typo and all those things. So those will be people clear.
So,
and there are
so just on this point, right? So there was an example in one of the podcasts I was seeing from Google. So what they have done is, this is very standard example because they saw that a lot of people were trying this. So the prompt given was that generate an image keeping a wine glass, and then there should be a clock behind that wine glass, and then clock should always the time on the clock should be 12:05, right? Now this is a prompt given, and then you have to generate and then how accurately can a model do this, right? कि एक wine glass होगा जो picture generate होगी उसमें, and then पीछे clock होना चाहिए, and that should exactly have a time like 12:05, right? This is very, I mean, so what they have done is that what they're saying is Google Nano Banana was not able to do it, but now Pro will be able to do it. Will exactly show you a clock जहाँ पे पीछे और time exactly उसमें 12:05 हो रहा होगा. just by
Okay.
using मतलब prompt like this, right?
Mhm.
So हाँ ठीक है, आई थिंक तो थोड़ा कंटिन्यू करते हैं अभी. आई थिंक मुझे लगा टूल का तो इंट्रो हो गया,
I mean,
right?
that is
Then we
just
can move
one
it.
tool. There are n number of tools available in the market for the Gen AI, and some are free, some are paid. This one was from the free, so anyone can use. That's why I was just showing the free tool only.
ठीक है.
कोई खास यूज केस सॉल्व हो रहा हो हमारे स्पेशली रिलेटेड टू अवर मतलब सॉफ्टवेयर इंडस्ट्री और भले ही पेड हो तो उसको हाईलाइट भी करना. ओके बेबी,
ठीक है, ठीक.
तो वरुण इसमें कोई यूसेज लिमिट भी है क्या? जैसे लाइक अभी तुमने ये इन्फोग्राफिक जनरेट कर दिया, फिर हाउ कैन यू जनरेट, हाउ मच video you can create, how much audio you can create?
I think currently, because currently Gemini is competing with OpenAI, so they have not put any restriction. They want to capture all the user base first, and then only they will come with some pricing model. But currently, I have not seen whatever the use case I had. I have not got any rate limit error or whatever. So I'm not aware, but maybe I can go and check that. Okay, what is the limitation? But currently, I've not seen anything.
Okay.
Because in the starting, when the OpenAI came, that Google was way behind, correct? But now the way they launched the Gemini, Nano, Banana, Notebook, LLM, now everyone is going away from OpenAI and coming to the Gemini models only.
Again, coming back to Google, coming back home.
OpenAI models are out of top 15 for your kind information. They are no longer anywhere. Like Claude has taken all the market for coding, and
they have declared
only these two are there: Anthropic and Google.
Okay. Yeah. Now let's go to the next thing, like how mostly all these things are done, correct? So till now, mostly we play with our CPU when we build any application, but because for the your LLM and Gen AI, it needs a lot of computation power because it has to run a lot of things in a parallel. So that's why it needs a big infra, and mostly they prefer the GPU. And in the GPU only, it's a very costly also, you can say. So the main thing how complete Gen AI works, that okay, you have some GPU based application, and there the LLMs are running, and there are some cloud provider for that, like Azure provides the GPU, AWS also provides, and different cloud providers are there. And on top of that, you build your own models, like if you are you can build your open source model like Olama, or you have some paid the premium model also. You build it and deploy it in some clouds, and you expose them via some API or some web app. Like the Notebook LLM which we saw, it follows the same pattern. You have the web app where you expose as the interface, and behind the scene it's using some model. So we don't know what model Notebook LLM is using, but let's say you are using the Gemini. So there they provide which model you want to select, correct? That model you select, but from your web applications or the CLI, it makes one REST API call to your cloud provider, where actually it's hosted, and that cloud provider is having the infra which is using the GPU. So this is how exactly everything works. So in what I will be covering, how to build some apps using the models which are already available, whether it's open source or it's paid, based on how much input tokens or output tokens you are using. So I will be covering the fourth part, the user layer. So one example we have seen, which has been built by the Google, the similar thing if you have to build for your use case, where you don't want to give your source content to any third-party application, correct? We know that, okay, if we buy enterprise license, they will say that, okay, your data is with you only, but still it's not with you actually. So, but if you have something personally you want to do, that time how you can run your LLM model in your local machine itself, you don't want to rely on any cloud also. You can build your own custom assistant where whatever the thing you want to ask, whether if you don't want to share anything, everything should be in your system, that also I will cover. So it will not need any cloud infra and everything, but because that is just for POC or prototype purpose, correct? Once you know that, okay, your concept is working, now you want to make it as a production ready, that time you will go that, okay, whether you want to buy infra with the high cost GPU and manage everything, or you rely on any cloud provider. So that will be the, I think, later choice to the team on what basis, because both place there will be pros and cons based on some cost or management, everything. But most of the time where we will end up either using the LLM models and using it for ourselves, or using the LLM's API will build something which can improve our developer productivity. Okay. And yeah, this is what I explained, like why CPU and GPU. So the CPU are like less powerful, and in the GPU there are a lot of smaller cores are there. Everything runs on parallel, and the cloud infrastructure I already explained. And yeah, there are some examples of what are the paid models and what are the opens. Like if I go with the paid one, you have OpenAI, Anthropic, Google Gemini. Now they also started giving you some free credit, and in the open source one, like you have Olama, which was by Meta. Then you have DeepSeek, Quen, GPT, OS 20B. Like there are different open source models are also present. But when you use open source, you will be responsible for updating it whenever the new version is coming. You will be responsible for making sure your infra has all the required memory, CPU, everything. But it's good for all the prototype. Without paying any extra penny, you can get the information whatever you want and see that okay, whether it will work or not. It depends, like okay, whatever the model you use, on what parameter it has been trained, the result will vary, but idea you will get that okay, whether the concept wise it's good to invest or not. So that you get without putting any extra money beforehand itself in the open source. So I will also show this, that how to run this locally, and the pros and cons we have already covered. And I have also documented something. I will, once I'll share, you will get the same information that okay, if I'm going the strategy of having my own physical hardware, or I'm going to manage the hosting, or I'm going to run my laptop, what will be the cost, management, and characteristic. And again, this is the image which I thought okay, whatever the text it had, if I had to explain in a beautiful way, this will be like AI, machine learning, deep learning, and then Gen AI. And why it's now in boom, because now, first of all, now we have a lot of data, and each data is getting trained, and we have computing powers also. So that's why this Gen AI is now in boom. And it was a boom, I think, starting from 2023 only. But when the ChatGPT got launched, then only it became more popular. And after that, there are so many the company, you can say, they started creating some different models, and some stick to some basics domain itself. Like mine is only good for the coding purpose, mine is good for research purpose. So based on whatever the input data you are giving for training, you get the result. Okay. Let's go to the third part. Yeah, so model hosting is same. And when we use the LLM, actually, the one thing we have to also do that, okay, how to evaluate, correct? Like whether that LLM which I'm going to use, whether it will be good fit for me or not. Because some LLM are fast, some will be slow. Some will give you the lengthy answer, some will give you the small answer. So, and based on how much input or the context parameter they have, that also you need to control. And based on that, your cost will also vary. So before choosing anything, that okay, we know that okay, this our Cloud Sonnet 4.5 or Gemini is working, but is it really good fit for your use case or not? That we have to evaluate by ourselves with the help of some human only. That okay, let's keep on giving the same inputs to some different model and see what response we are getting, and then we come up with that okay, which model is good for our purpose. That can be also automated, but mostly we first rely on our own intelligence, and then only we say that okay, now I have seen that okay, based on some previous hundreds input, I see it's giving me a good satisfactory result. So I will be sticking to with this model because it is fast also, and it's cheaper, or my use case itself is very complex. So I will stick with the bigger model only. I can use GPT-4o also, I can use GPT 4.1 mini, but which one to choose, it will depend based on your use case and the pricing model which you want to use. Okay. And mostly we also see that okay, which one has the good support model also before choosing that okay, because it's, if I'm going with some open source model and tomorrow they stop supporting, what will be the impact, how I will migrate from that open source to that enterprise based model. That also mostly we need to only take care. And the main thing, we know that okay, we are going to use AI in our all the use cases. I think if we are not using AI, we will be left behind. So that is must to use. I can say based on my experience. And the second thing is that people will think that, okay, if will the AI will replace me or not? Correct. What will happen if I'll keep on building so many AI models and I'm keep on creating some custom agent which can write code on behalf of me? So tomorrow they will need you or not. So one thing which I feel, you see that, okay, we are identified as a problem solver, not like that a code writer. So if you are only writing the code, yeah, maybe AI can replace you in some time. But if you are solving some problems, I don't think AI can replace anyone, because AI can generate code, AI can generate content, but currently I've seen AI is not able to solve the problems very well. But it can, you tell that, okay, this is the problem, this is the solution. Now you write a code based on whatever the solution I'm giving you. You don't need any phrases to just write the code and follow some syntax. That can be done from the AI.
Yeah, I think this is good way to think about this.
Hmm.
Problem
And
versus generation, right?
correct. So I think we all need to think that, okay, instead of now we are having as a some crafts person, we need to think as an architect that, okay, now we design a solution. I'm not just doing that, okay, the solution is already designed. I'm not doing the coding, or I'm not just putting all the building blocks. So if you think in that way, it will be, we all will feel safe. And you must have seen everywhere that, okay, they said 10x engineer, 10x productivity, 10x product, correct? We can also become a 10x where I can automate my task using all the AI tools which are available, so that I can do 10 things. I don't need to say that, okay, I have to review some PRs, and in each PR I follow some checks, correct? The PR should have this coding guidelines, it should follow this standard, constant should not be there, config should come from secret and everything. Whatever things we do, we can automate that, so that in one time I can review the 10 PRs with the same standard. So all those things can be automated, but who will define the rules? If we are not there, it will be some very generic rule. Like you will see a lot of open source PR review tools are available, which does not have any knowledge about your company, business, or product. They just follow some Java guidelines or Python guidelines. But we can create our own custom agents, which can save our time. So that's how I think, and I use AI. And only thing we need to see, because whenever you use AI, you just need to write some disclaimer saying that, okay, this is AI generated content, so that people know that, okay, it has been, the first review has been done by the AI. So we need to uh, be like a good responsible person, correct? We tell that, okay, whatever the content you are saying, it's not like a human reviewed, it's AI. You are talking to the AI or whatever. And because AI can be based also based on how you are training it, what kind of system prompts are you giving, correct? So you need to tell, you should not be biased, all those things. Whatever the best practice are, some rules are there to use the AI. I have tried to document it here, like, okay, what should be the fairness and biased part. So you can put everything, you should not be biased, and you should always protect the privacy.
तो वीपी लोगों ने इसका जैसे कोड रिव्यू के लिए ये बनाया है क्या, गाइडलाइन वगैरह देके अपनी, हैव यू ट्राइड दैट आउट?
So actually in our org, we already have one Codo merge, but what I do, I have created my own custom agents. Whatever the rules I need to follow in a PR review, that I run it manually. Means every 1 hour I run one cron job. What it does, it has integration with the Git CLI. So it pulls all the open PR which are assigned to me. And because I always review the PR in one programming language, that is in JavaScript. So I have written some rules that, okay, these are the basic things you need to follow. And whatever the guidelines which I tell my developer that, okay, you need to follow. So instead of I checking that, okay, whether they had followed or not, that I had the same instruction I had given to LLM as a system prompt, saying that, okay, make sure this code follow this coding guidelines. So that I do, but not as an automated webhook kind of thing, because in our org, the webhook is not enabled for Git repository. So we have to run it manually only, like on demand.
So how do you do it? So let's say in what I have done is I have a document which I have given to a team. Okay, this is the best practice you have to follow, right? And earlier, I think Copilot mein this feature was there that you can attach that document, and then it will automatically give comments on the PR based on the document that you have done. But I think वो Copilot का भी शायद अगर access ना हो तो how will you do it? मतलब is there anybody else अगर किसी ने किया है, right? Because this is a very primary thing that you have to do in the team, right?
So what I do actually,
Go ahead.
whenever first I get the list of PRs, so you get that, okay, what are the PR numbers? It pull it in my system locally, and then I do a git diff. It get that, okay, what are the files are present in the diff based on your base branch and the branch from which the PR has been opened. And then it only create the patch file. In the patch file, you have all the diff, correct? What are the files lines has been modified plus minus, and then it take that modified file or the patch as a content, and it tries to review based on that. So if you don't have an integration with Cursor PR review or the VS Code PR review, the GitHub Copilot PR review, then this is how you can build your own custom.
तो ये जो आपने पैच फाइल बनाई लोकली बनाई आप बोल रहे हो?
हाँ, yes.
और फिर की मतलब कौन से LLM में रन कर रहे हो उसको, कहाँ पे दिया?
So I run all these things in local also because I don't want to pay extra just for doing a PR review. So I use LM Studio. So this is one of the open, the way you have Olama, similar way I have the LM Studio also. What it does, whatever the models which can run in your system, I use that. So currently I'm using, let's assume, OpenAI GPT OS 20B. Based on whatever the configuration I have, I use this as a LLM model, and there I provide what is your system prompt and what is the content, and based on that it will give you the answer. So everything is done locally, not
So isme finally what you are doing, Varun, right? So let's say ये tool download कर लिया, you set the model which has to be used for review.
yeah, this tool is just for UI only, but at the end you just need some code where you have to.
So now you have to copy the code, right, from that PR, and then say that, okay, can you, and this is my guideline for reviewing. अब
Yes.
वो comment करता है क्या फिर वो?
It will just,
or it corrects the code.
As a text, it will not comment or anything. It will just say that, okay, these are the review comments. For this line number, this is the review comment. Then I go and manually add it so that it looks like that, okay, it has been reviewed by me only, not by any bot.
Got it.
Like I don't know, like it's to automate my things. Instead of I going through all the 10 files which has been modified, I get some first level review done by some tool.
So इसमें Copilot also does the same thing, right? I mean, GitHub
Copilot also does the same thing. I think the question is, if you don't have Copilot access, how you can do this?
Yeah, I think we have this.
रूल्स कैसे प्रोवाइड किया आपने, जो वो कैसे प्रोवाइड किए, कौन से के जो मेरे गाइडलाइंस कहाँ हैं वो कैसे प्रोवाइड करते हो?
वो मैं शो करता हूँ सर. अभी मैं थोड़ा न्यू यूजर स्पेस में हूँ, तो मेरा आधा कंटेंट इधर आधा उधर है, बट मैं आपको शो करता हूँ पूरा. बट मैं एग्जांपल के तौर पे अगर दिखाऊं तो जैसे मैंने अभी के लिए कुछ लिख रहा था, देन आई विल आल्सो शो यू.
धीरज, ये कोपायलट में आप लोग अपने रूल देते हुए वो अपना जो भी सेल्फ डिफॉल्ट रूल्स हैं उसके उससे वो लुट करता है? मतलब कुछ गाइडलाइन देते हो क्या आप, मतलब कोपायलट को कि हमारे और की ये गाइडलाइंस हैं?
हाँ, Copilot में आप अटैच कर सकते हो डॉक्यूमेंट. लेट्स से आपने
you can do that. You can chat actually with any file also. But मतलब कि अभी हम लोगों ने डिफॉल्ट ही करा हुआ है, तो हम लोग बस क्या करते हैं, कोई भी रिव्यू ऐड कराना होता है हमें अपना खुद से, मतलब हम हमारे जो आर्किटेक्ट होंगे या मतलब जो और भी रिव्यूअर्स हैं उनको ऐड करने से पहले हम लोग कोपायलट को ऐड कर देते हैं, ताकि कोपायलट हमको इनिशियल कमेंट दे दे, फिर उसके हिसाब से हम लोग कोड चेंज कर देते हैं, देन वी ऐड फॉर द अदर पीपल. तो इस तरह से मतलब हमारे टीम हम लोग अपना टीम वर्क करते हैं हम लोग.
तो ये मैं ट्राई करके देखता हूँ. मतलब यूआई के केस में कैसा कुछ जेनरिक ही रिव्यू होते होंगे, राइट? देयर इज नथिंग वेरी स्पेसिफिक टू ऑर्ग, राइट?
Yeah, it's nothing specific to Rock, but it's specific to your product, correct? What coding style you follow. Let's say you have 10 applications. If the same component is already present in another mini apps or another micro front end, so do you want each individual team to create their own, or you want it should be present in the shared repository? All those kind of things. It's like you currently given a guidelines for your team to follow, and you are making sure whether they are following the same guidelines or not.
Sure.
So I will show you that because currently everything is getting recorded, so I will not share that part. But in the next call, maybe for half an hour, we will stop the recording. So I will share everything, whatever I was telling you. But it's a simple thing. We just need some prompt to provide that. Okay, what is your system prompt? What is your context? And based on that, you will get all the things.
So
in the next
question, only one delta question मेरा रहा कि जो तो इससे LM Studio से तुम्हारे कमेंट्स मिल रहे हैं, on top of
LM Studio is just a way to access the LLM. So instead of I relying on any cloud provider, I'm running locally so that I'm not paying any extra cost and no one knows what I'm doing. I only know what I'm doing. So because I ask some random stupid question also. And if I'm using my org level LLM model, maybe they are doing some logging in the background. I don't know, correct? So that's why lot of things I use my local LLM model where everything is with me only, not outside. Otherwise, it can be done with any other model also.
नहीं करेक्ट है, मैं बस ये कह रहा हूँ कि जो तुम्हें इससे जो तुम्हें रिव्यू कमेंट्स मिल रहे हैं उसके ऊपर तुम्हें कितनी बार लग रहा है कि मुझे एक्स्ट्रा रिव्यू देने पड़े, या कितना एक्यूरेट चल रहा है वो लगभग, अब क्या लग रहा है वो?
अच्छा, वो रिजल्ट आप बोल रहे हो। तो मुझे अभी तक तो 50-50 मान लीजिए, क्योंकि मैंने क्या किया हुआ है, whatever the review comment it provides, I create one tool which runs as a pre-checks in your PR. So every time, let's say the first time, whatever my team has did a mistake, I tried to create a tool so that it can detect based on your some file structure or regex based or the lint rule also. Like in JavaScript, the linting concept is there. So I tried to create some custom rules so that can run without any AI integration. But where it's something is new, which I was not knowing, that time it takes. So it keep on improving. So initially it was giving lot of comments and lot of repeated comments also, like that. Okay, if the same mistake has been done in 4 files, it was giving me the 4 times comment. But then I had also improved my prompts saying that, okay, if one thing which has been mistaken and if it's there in multiple files, you need to just tell me one, so that I can also write only one review comment in the PR saying that, okay, take care in all the files. If I see there are 10 files, in all the 10 files you have done one mistake, so instead of using the logging, you started logging in the console.log, correct? So I will not write in each file that, okay, remove console.log and use the logger library from file 1 file to file 3. I will say this is the thing you missed, you do it in all the place. So like that, we have done the improvement. So now I see the results are like, okay, 50% of time. Again, it depends who from my team is raising the PR. If it's a senior person, I see less review comment. But if it's like someone, they keep on switching the members from one team to another team, that time, even they don't have the context of the product, I see a lot of mistakes is happening. So that time it detect that, okay, I've seen that, okay, this is the guidelines which was published as a rule.
कैलिबर की बात नहीं, वो ठीक है, मतलब लेकिन मतलब तुम्हारे को रिव्यू कमेंट अपने ऐड करने पड़ रहे हैं, मतलब
मैं अभी अपने खुद, मैंने बोला ना कि मुझे ये नहीं करना कि एवरीथिंग इज गेटिंग डन ऑटोमेटिकली. आई वांट टू सो दैट, ओके, एवरी डे आई एम रिव्यूइंग दिस मेनी पीआरस आल्सो, करेक्ट? आई हैव टू आल्सो प्रेजेंट सम.
नहीं, तुम क्वेश्चन समझ नहीं पा रहे. वो दिखाने की बात नहीं कर रहा, और मैं ओनरशिप तुम कर रहे हो नहीं, वो बात नहीं. मतलब प्रैक्टिकली स्पीकिंग, जो रिव्यू कमेंट मान लो 10 तुम्हारे पास, तुम रिव्यू करते, यू विल गिव 10 रिव्यू कमेंट्स. Is this able to identify all 10 or 9 or 5 only? वैसा बताओ, मतलब
proper. Sorry. In that it's able to identify all the 10s.
Okay, brilliant. मतलब इसकी efficiency पूरी है अपने में, right?
Based on my expectation, whatever the things I given that, okay, these are the only things you should check, because I also follow the similar thing at the PR review time. It is able to detect everything. But if I only miss something, then that he is also not able to detect. Yes.
20 million parameter का local पे रन कर ले रहे हो.
Yeah, it's running in local only. So that's why I'm saying I'm not going into 120. So it has around size of the 12 GB and it's running in my local based on the configuration which I have.
CPU वगैरह की issue नहीं हो रही.
It does not need actually a big infra. So I'm able to run this.
So basically infra is yours only, right? But like, since you are using office code, so any chance like this is connecting or collecting some data from your side?
No, that it's not doing it actually. I've seen that. I've checked that. Okay, I've done complete tracing also. It's not doing that. So that's why I always look into the JavaScript only, where I can do the library level debugging. So I don't see any issue on that.
और तो खुद ही encourage कर रहे हैं ना, और यूज कर रिव्यू करने के लिए.
No, he is saying that if you are using some open source, will your code, which is your org code, will it go outside of your org or not? If you don't use the LLM model which has been provided by your org. That was the question. Correct?
Yeah.
ये copyright का कोई issue नहीं लगता तुम्हें? मतलब is your manager or some मतलब senior available कि भाई मैंने एक locally बना रखा है जिसमें मैं review करता हूँ, because you are using an open source thing, ठीक है? You don't know कि वो क्या सब open करता है behind the scene. I मतलब I'm just guessing.
Yeah, even I was thinking.
उसमें थोड़ा तो मैं भी अपनी तरफ से देखता हूँ कि क्या क्या डालना है, क्या क्या नहीं डालना, because I'm only sending the patch. I'm not giving you the complete repository access. But when you use Cursor or GitHub Copilot, it has the complete repo access. Right. But in this case, I'm just giving you as a text content of the patch file. What is the delta? So even if it something goes wrong, it will not have the complete code access also.
रिपीट बस एक समझ में आया। एडिशनल क्वेश्चन यही है कि तुम्हारे पास तो और का जो GitHub Copilot का एक्सेस होगा ही, है ना?
Yes, that has, so that also I use, but some place I told na, some things which I do very weird also, so that time I use this.
भाई ये तो तुम कुछ गुप्तचर बातें कर रहे हो। वियर्ड क्या करता था आदमी, ऐसा क्या तुम बता होगा?
No, it's like nowadays, like if I need to write a simple Slack reply also, I'm relying on the GenAI kind of thing, you can say.
Right. The email
I don't want every time say that, okay, this is the user question, and I see that, okay, what is the audience to whom I'm targeting, and based on that, I keep on asking everything that, okay, because my tone is very different, and I need to pretend in a different way. So that's how I use it.
तो धुरंधर ऐसा ही है हमारा।
So he generally personal assistant he's making, but he doesn't wants to show actually, right?
Yes.
Like, that kind of a way.
Correct. See, we know that our org has given. That means org also has the complete control, correct? They can see, I don't know what are the logs they are adding, what is the input I'm giving. Because at the end, they also publish a summary, correct? Which user, which associate is using how much of the tokens. If they are able to publish that metrics, I don't know in the background what they are doing. So I don't trust. So that's the reason.
By the way, तुम्हारे और सारे weird काम जो record हो रहे हैं.
So that is okay, but I'm not telling that what is all other things. So whatever things I can speak, only that thing I'm telling.
Also, in my opinion, like, I mean, it's other way to, you know, say it ki weird, but there is nothing weird or there is nothing wrong that you are doing if you are running this model locally, because you are not, you know, putting any data outside your system. So everything is in your system. और यहाँ पे कुछ वायलेशन भी नहीं हो रहा है उसका प्रोडक्ट की, उसके गाइडलाइंस का। जैसे कि हमें ये है कि हमारा कोड कहीं भी अपलोड नहीं होना चाहिए किसी भी एक्सटर्नल पे। तो इन केस like you have downloaded the model, running it locally, asking question locally, doing all the processing on your local system, in my opinion it's not violating any law. So मेरे हिसाब से तो ये सही है।
Yeah, that is what I asked. Like, if it's not sending anything, we are sure, right? It's not recording and
that's for sure. You're not sending anything outside.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you can do it even without you are connected to internet, right? Because
yes,
वो local पे ये process चल रहा है।
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, this is also one good tool. The similar way we have the Olama also, but I like this very much. There are multiple reasons for that. Whenever I'm giving the complete coding walkthrough, that time I will cover this also.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested to know like why you feel it's better than Olama.
Okay, sure. Maybe I can give you a quick glimpse why it's better. The first thing is that it provides a lot of other to like the chatgpt and whatever the things they have. You can upload here all your source content the similar way in the Olama or the chatgpt, but it gives you the capability to build your own custom MCP and interact directly. It can create your RAG from in this tool itself. You don't need separate things. So lot of things are there. And the third thing is that it's compatible with all the OpenAI SDK. So whatever the code I'm writing, let's say if I'm showing you this example. So if I'm using the OpenAI platform model or I'm running local, all the code is same. Only thing at the time of when I'm creating a client, I just need to provide the base URL as my local. Otherwise, everything is same. So it's compatible with all the SDK which are available in the market. So that's why I don't need to see that, okay, I did my POC with some custom local code, but when I need to make that code as a production ready, I need to do some rewrite. I need to tell the Copilot itself that, okay, I use the SDK 1, now make it, refactor it based on the SDK 2. So all those things based on that, I saw this is very good. And third thing was the debugging, like whatever the things you do, it provides a good way of debugging. Like here, if you see whatever the question I'm asking, you can easily see that, okay, what API call it's making, what response it's getting, what are the analysis it's doing, and again, what API call it's making. So you can debug locally everything behind the scene, what is going on in the LLM. It will help me to debug also. So that's the main reason that's why I prefer LM Studio if I compare to Olama.
Right. You got a lot of, UI features which is not there in Olama, because that's just a a command line thing. You run the
correct.
model locally and you
No, they
point.
also have a UI. I was using previously their UI also for asking a lot of questions. But when I started using this, where you get all the API access also, so I can build any custom web application by using their post API. They are exposing that, okay, what is get API, post API available, what is the payload you need to do. So let's say tomorrow you don't want to use any SDK. You know what is the API it's running in the background to get the data. So when I say client.chat.completion.create, we don't know internally what it's doing, but using this, I'm able to debug and I can see that, okay, it's making actually a post API call to one endpoint with some payload. So now I can build any application. I just need a REST API.
Right.
So
Good.
that's the main thing. I will go through this code also that, okay, what it's trying to do and why I'm doing it. But before that, let's cover.
So Varun, just one last question. In your org, wherever you're working, have you got the opportunity to create some AI logistics? Basically, customize करना model को या AI specific जो
Yeah. So we have a separate team for that. So like we have a separate platform team and all the teams. They take care about that. They create their own custom. The way we have a GPT-4, similar way our org also have their own custom model which is trained on our org data.
Okay. Acha, so at what point do I realize कि I need a custom model? मतलब what at what conjuncture do I need to know about it? So मतलब एक इस तरीके से है कि ये मुझे तो more or less लगता है कि ये it's doing everything. मतलब is it from legal perspective कि मुझे local अपना रखना है या copyright हो गया या data को privacy को maintain करना है? जो key factor होता है to move into that direction, what is that? What do you think? मतलब अगर if you are or
based on my experience previously, even I was also thinking that, okay, if I need this, let's say, if I have to use GPT-4o, it does not have any context about my microservices, correct? If I had to debug what is the business logic, it does not know. It will, if I say that, okay, my CPU is going above 70%, what could be the reason? It will give me some generic reason. But I want that, okay, whenever any alert I get, it should tell me that, okay, this is the region and what will be the impact on other dependent service also. So that time I thought that, okay, let's me customize it or the fine tune the existing model, whatever I have with my own data. But that process itself was very lengthy for me because I come from the front end background. And then that the same time, the OpenAI, they released the tool calling or the function calling capability. So where you use your any whatever the pre-trained models are there and leverage the function calling and get the data which you want, which is not present in the actual pre-trained model. Okay. It will add the more context and it will solve your use case. So for me, it is able to do everything without creating my fine-tuning any custom model with the help of custom tools or the agentic behavior, which you can say. But most of the people are creating because they need, because when you leverage, integrate with any tooling, it will add some latency also. And you will see some limitation of what should be your context parameter, correct? You cannot keep on making so many API calls and keep on adding as your prompts. So that time they prefer
cost. So cost is one other factor, basically, you are saying.
Means making a API call extra and speed, all those things are factor, you can say. But based on my experience, maybe someone who is expert in the LLM side, they can tell. But if I'm a product owner and I just want to see, I want to make my product better. I don't want to see that, okay, how that platform has been built. So I will not try to put my energy on making that, okay, this LLM model is not better. Let's make it that better. I will pay someone to provide me a better model.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So
let me answer that question, right? So just say, so usually what you do is so there are generally two major steps, right, which happens when you are training an LLM, right? One is a pre-training, and then it is a fine-tuning. So pre-training, what you do is that you just take a lot of data, right? You just take a lot of internet scale data, which is very generalized data, right? And then you train a model, so that will give the LLM an understanding of the language, understanding of the grammar, understanding of the adjective pronouns of that language, right? Language का structure जो है, that it will understand. Okay. But now you want it to you want this model to be trained for a specialized kind of an output, right? So let's say abhi usko fine tuning karna hai. For example, you want to train it for a question answer kind of a pattern, right? So you will tell it, okay, this is a question and this is the answer. So let's say now you will train it for this kind of a use case. So pehla generic ho gaya, where you let's say any kind of data that you can get. Books mil gaya aapko, podcast ka transcript mil gaya, internet ke upar web pages mil gaya. You take everything and you train it. So now you have made a very generalized model. But now you want to train it for a specific use case, and this could be a domain specific use case also, right? So I can just download let's say a pre-trained model, and then I can train it for my ads use case, right? I can say ads mein campaign ka matlab ye hota hai, ads mein ad group, there is something called an ad group which is meant by this, budget cap ka means this. So I can attach my maybe my own PRD, right? And now I'm training it for my own particular. So I'm fine tuning it, or maybe I'm just making it more and more specialized to a particular domain. So now it will give me more contextual answer, better answers.
So
my whole Varun bol raha tha, right?
I think
so my whole point asking bas ek second asking this basically I was just thinking about the going forward my 5-10 years, how would all those things look like? For example, observability ka example he Varun gave. So generally all observability jo platforms hai, they are providing their inbuilt AI assistant where they can more or less generate. CloudWatch ho gaya, CoreLogics ho gaya, they can do that. And apart from that, like I'm thinking it in the perspective कि अगर हर कोई अपना AI कर रहा होगा अगले 5-10 साल में, so the way the code was built used to be built, मतलब as of now या previously, same way में हर कोई अपना AI बना रहा होगा, मतलब the overall the job का जो काम करने का जो style है, that will be sort of switched, but it will be obviously specific to each company. So
यहाँ पे दो different patterns evolve हो रहे हैं, right? So one is, let's say you get a pre-trained model, or let's say you take an LLM itself, right? And which is open source, and so that you get the code also, you get that model, right? And you can put it on your local, and now you do a fine tuning. So that is one way. Second thing which is evolving, most people don't go for fine tuning because it's very complex even to do a fine tuning. It's also a training step, right? So training is always it's difficult to do. It's resource intensive, time consuming, a lot of data that you have to get and then clean up the data. So instead of fine tuning, people go for RAG, right? So RAG is now you attach, let's say you attach it to certain vector database, right? And then vector database say it can query. So let's say you send some prompt to the LLM. What it will do is it will query your vector database using those let's say उसमें कुछ आपने कुछ custom information दिया, कुछ employee information है, या फिर आपके domain specific है. So it will call vector database, it will get the result, and then it will use as a prompt for the LLM. So this is like जो आप fine tuning में कर रहे थे, using the same data that you are giving from the vector database, instead of this going and becoming part of the model itself in the fine tuning step, what you are doing is on a dynamic time only, I will just use a RAG and pull that information from vector.db, right? Abhi ye LLMs and all are now augmenting and doing function calling, which he talked about, right? Ki function calling ka feature bhi jo hai wo LLMs de raha hai. So that is they are killing you ki I can call an API, right? Where I can get some more information so that I stay grounded in the truth. I don't hallucinate and I don't give you a very generalized answer, right? I can give you domain specific answers. Because generalized answers, yeah.
मेरे को इसमें क्वेश्चन था, वेक्टर डेटाबेस को हम लोग रैग में यूज करते हैं तो उसका कोई बेनिफिट, मतलब क्योंकि मैं जब पढ़ रहा था तो मुझे ऐसा लगा कि वेक्टर डेटाबेस जो है वो वर्ड बाय वर्ड मतलब सिमेंटिक मीनिंग फाइंड करने के लिए तो बहुत अच्छे हैं, बट जो जैसे हम लोग फॉर एग्जांपल हम लोगों का मेन ये होता है कि कॉन्टेक्स्ट फाइंड करना होता है ना एलएलएम रैग यूज करके, तो उसके लिए मेरे को लगता है कि वेक्टर डेटाबेस उतने यूजफुल है नहीं है. तो मेरे को बस ये पूछना था, आई थिंक पवन जो सर उनको मतलब उन्होंने वेक्टर डेटाबेस से क्लास भी लिया, तो मेरे को उनसे भी पूछना था कि ये हम लोग कॉन्टेक्स्ट यूज करने के लिए वेक्टर डेटाबेस को यूज करना इज इट गुड और लाइक आई मीन शुड और या फिर मतलब या फिर हम लोग वेक्टर डेटाबेस को रिप्लेस कर सकते हैं इसमें, ये मेरे को पूछना था, या फिर किसी और मतलब एलएलएम मॉडल से या किसी से मतलब ऐसे मतलब शॉर्ट एलएलएम मॉडल से, या मतलब वरुण अगर आप भी बोलोगे इसमें.
Yeah, so actually in that vector database
also one second, also मेरे को एक और क्वेश्चन था इसमें, एक और एडिशनली एक और क्वेश्चन था. आप फ्रंट एंड में हो ना आई थिंक?
yes.
तो मैं भी मेरा भी फ्रंट एंड बैकग्राउंड है, बट मैं लाइक लास्ट 1 ईयर से मास्टर्स कर रहा था, तो मैंने अभी इंडस्ट्री में वर्क नहीं किया जब मतलब, तो मेरे को पूछना था कि जब से ये एआई मॉडल्स वगैरह आए हैं उसके बाद से मतलब बेसिकली फ्रंट एंड का जो वर्क है वो किस तरीके से इम्पैक्ट हुआ है, मतलब अभी के करंट सिनेरियो में। ये 2 क्वेश्चन थे मेरे एक्चुअली।
ओके, मैं पहले आपका लास्ट वाला क्वेश्चन आंसर करता हूँ। सो जेन एआई आने के बाद कोई भी फ्रंट एंड बना रहा है, दैट इज वन थिंग। ओके, that means even let's say we are good in creating API currently. Let's assume like Kunal sir and everyone, I think we are all coming from backend background except me. So we can create a scalable system, but till now we were dependent on the some front end guy, product team, or I don't know how to present this data. Correct? I can create a good API, but I don't know how to present that. That time this Gen AI models, it's helping very good. And they are able to create a good prototype application. Let's say if I have any idea and I don't need to hire any freelancer to build a simple working application, I will give all the context and it will create me a complete working web application. But I have seen it makes a lot of mistakes. It does not follow proper security guidelines and everything. And most of the places, I think recently someone posted from the Naukri.com website, there was a job posting open, but your salary was hidden. It's saying that, okay, it's once you log in, then only you can see it. But if you open the network tab and you see the API response, and in that it was returning. The similar happens with all other this wipe coded application, which we call it that, okay, we give some prompt, it creates a web app. There it does not follow, by default, it does not follow all the best practices. There, as a front-end expert, we tell that, okay, you need to use this library. This is the way you should interact with your client code to server-side code. Then it makes a better code. It is improving all the UI team members' time. Like now, I don't need to create a pixel perfect code. I can directly link to my Figma and it will get the complete design system and it will generate the UI. So the work-wise, if you see now, front-ends are like just they will do it as a new guy. But if you are expert in front end, you add a value because you know you are providing a solution, not you are just writing the code. That was the thing I see. Based on my experience, I can tell this.
Yeah, okay, I can understand that. Thank you so much. And उसके बाद जो मेरे को ठीक है आपको
ये Figma वाला I think good. I think I didn't know this कि आप Figma से ही through आपका जो CSS है आप कह रहे हो.
There are correct.
This is good.
So that's why maybe I can take all the practical examples only. I should not go on any theoretical part because I think everyone knows how to use theory and how this LLM and everything works. So we can go with that.
को रिप्लेस कर दिया, बट जावास्क्रिप्ट अभी भी है, मतलब फ्रंट एंड में
जावास्क्रिप्ट रहेगा ही.
CSS भी है, बट उसको मतलब
no, in the CSS also, if you have follow the news that now the people are saying that your Tailwind CSS is getting dead because LLM is writing their own inline styles the way we want. So like a lot of things are going on. Maybe in future, I don't know what will be the, how we can see that, okay, front end as a full-time skill. So I will not recommend anyone to go on the front end as a full-time skill or your primary skills. You should have a balance of everything and try to focus on multiple things.
I think ये भी एक रिसर्च का टॉपिक
है वीपी. कई लीगेसी अपने सीनियर्स हैं जो बिजनेस चलाते हैं, उनका पहले कभी वेबसाइट होती थी और मतलब वेबसाइट चलती थी, बट नाउ दे वांट सेम थिंग ऑन ऐप, तो वो सब उनका ऑटोमेटेड हो सकता है.
Yeah, that can be. Now they can quickly see the reach to market will be very fast for any product now, because previously what we say, because I have to work with some freelancer, I can pay only very small amount. They will build me a web application only. Now I want to reach all the audience. I want to Android, iOS users also. I want to give them a native experience, correct? So I don't want to build. I will leverage that. Okay, this is the working model, and I want this as it is for Android app also or iOS app also. It will create it. You just need to pay for some LLM tokens only. It will create. A thing will be like who will maintain. If like previously also, let's say we build our software, correct? We get some sign of contract kind of thing that, okay, you need to support this software for 2 years. If any issue comes or if I need any enhancement, that also at least some knowledge will be required, because what I need to tell, that is important thing. If I say like, let's build one CRM for just managing my all the inventory and everything, I don't know what it will build, which library to use, whether it's scalable or not scalable. It will make you that, okay, whatever you want, now you get it. But whether it's a perfect or better or not, that someone we need to review and tell that, okay, you can go ahead with this.
इसी पे मैं जस्ट ऐड करना चाह रहा हूँ थोड़ा सा कि हम नाउ दिस इज द गोल ओरिएंटेड डेवलपमेंट. मुझे पता है वंस रिक्वायरमेंट क्लैरिफिकेशन इज डन, आई नो इन माय माइंड कि एचएलडी कैसा होना चाहिए, एलएलडी कैसा होना चाहिए, क्या एज केसेस हैं, क्या यूज केसेस हैं, आई नो एवरीथिंग हियर. इंस्टेड ऑफ टाइपिंग इट नाउ या किसी और को 2 जूनियर लगा के टाइप करो, वो टाइपिंग का काम ये कर देना. बट आई हैव टू क्लियर इन माय माइंड, आई हैव टू वर्क बैकवर्ड फ्रॉम दैट टारगेट स्टेट और द गोल स्टेट. This is how exactly it looks like. You have to be very clear in your mind. This is the HLD I need.
Once you are clear, then you get a better result. If you're not clear, then it will give you something, but maybe
it will hallucinate you.
It will hallucinate
with random things.
So there also, like, people follow different approach. Like I follow a very different approach. I don't directly go to agent mode or ask mode. I follow a plan mode where I say that, okay, I have to build something. I give some prompt in the input box. Like if I open this input chat, I will give something, and I will wait for it to return the response and see that, okay, what is the approach it's trying to do, whether it's correct as per my need or as per my standard or not.
Right.
Once I am satisfied, then only I say that implement. So in that, you can choose 2 different model. First model, you can choose very complex or the very good model, which is costly also when you are planning. Once you have planned that, okay, I want to do this, and that LLM has already created a good plan, then you can choose any lightweight model to just implement as per the plan. So using that, you can save some cost also. So instead of what we do, we select highest or the perfect or the better model, correct? From that first input itself, it gets something and then say, oh, it's not as per my need. Then again, I say that, okay, correct it. It goes in multiple times, but you are using the same model only. So my recommendation is that, okay, first you choose the better model, which is like very costly and good in the thinking or design or coding. See that, okay, whatever the approach it's saying, it is up to your standard. Once you know, because now the next thing should be simple. Just write whatever is planned, correct? That time you can use any model.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, second question. The first question was for the RAG, correct? We were talking about the vector DB. So what I also do is that I also use a vector DB for some use case. Like there are some things which are static, like you create a lot of documents in a Confluence page. And those are like a static kind of thing, correct? You have some frequently asked question or the process related guidelines or the playbook or a new team member onboarding. All things you have in a document, but those we call it as an unstructured thing. But if I need to get some information, and if we search it directly in the Confluence, you might not get the better result or faster one. So what I do, I take all the content, create a chunking, like because the document itself are very big, so I chunk it in a small paragraph, like 500 words or 600 words, and then create a vector embedding of everything and put it in my vector DB. The next time when I ask any question, so before hitting my LLM, what I do, whatever the question I have asked, I create this again vector embedding of the same question, and then use vector search to get some relevant content which is matching with this. Let's say I say I need only top 3 results or top 5 results. And there also you need to work with some strategy that, okay, what should be the overlap? Let's say if you have already created a chunking and the first paragraph is taking from the first chunk and the second is taking from the third, second is missing, so that context will not be present to LLM. So that time you can say that, okay, I need at least one overlap so that it should not miss the flow. All those strategy you apply, and then once you get the content, you get the complete text, what was the original text of that content. That content you add as a context to the LLM, then make a call. So you are good on doing X, user is asking for Y, and this is the source content for that.
Actually I got it. I also did the same thing for my thesis. So I basically chunked the documents using 5 different chunking strategies, and then I used embedding models like mini LM, GT, large, and int float, and all that, like all the small, medium, and large models. Then I created embeddings I stored in vector database. But what I did was, my approach was to take 10 top chunks from the vector database, and then I used OpenAI for re-ranking. And also what I did is I added like a quantity I increased to 50, like for example, and then I extracted 50 chunks from the same vector database, and then I fed the 50 chunks to the OpenAI. Then I asked to give a score, like from 1 to 10 for how much is does it match with the my own question, like my own query. So I based on the chunk that I got from the vector database and from the OpenAI, I gave both of them to the this model, like using Llama to generate answer. And what I found was that the vector database was performing very bad actually. Like the precision score was very bad compared to models like OpenAI and all that. So so that's what I thought, like maybe like when we are giving, like for example, 1 or 2 words, it is performing good, but when we are giving the entire query, right, and we are creating vector embedding of that, then it is not performing in a very good way. Like that's what my finding was actually. When
Yeah,
I
we'll
used
cover that also when I will go to the RAG model, RAG approach. What are the different way to do vector embedding, or what are the different ways to build a RAG application? That time I will cover this also. What are the strategies are available? Which one fits in which use case? Because we cannot keep on making so many LLM calls. Because if I'm building one customer support chat bot, correct? There it's making so many API call, my user will get frustrated. So there are so many strategies are there. We'll discuss that also.
Jitin, can you do demo of your thesis or project?
I can actually, but मेरे पास वो था यार, उसका PDF शेयर करूं या कैसे करूं मतलब?
नहीं, एक दिन तू डेमो कर दे, just शेयर करने से नहीं होगा, नहीं? What you did, what were the pros and cons of the steps that you used, right? Sometimes maybe after 1 or 2 weeks, ना?
हाँ, वो नोटबुक यूज करके नोट जनरेट करके उस तरीके से ट्राई करूंगा, मतलब वो जो बताया ना भी,
हाँ,
वो यूज करके काफी बेस्ट है वो.
Yeah. Okay. So I think for last 30 minutes, let me quickly show some code, whatever we discussed till now, and then the rest of the thing again I can cover. Maybe I need one more session. It will not get covered in 2 sessions, so we can extend that also. So I think Ankit sir asked the question about that. Okay, which one is better for whether I should go for a fine-tuning model or there's the new capability which is present, like the tool calling, that is good or bad, correct? So let me show you with some working code also, and you can add it whether it will meet the requirement or not. So by default, let's say we have one LLM model, let's call it as this. This has been trained on some parameters with some knowledge, correct? And if I ask any question, let's say currently if I'm asking write one sentence bedtime story about a unicorn, and if I run this, so what it will do, it will it will try to use this OpenAI model, and from there it will give you the answer. Let me know if you see complete response here. Okay. So because here nothing is dynamic, correct? It does not need any new context. Whatever the data which is present in this, based on that you got the answer. But let's assume if I ask any questions about which is not present in the LLM model which I'm using. So for that reason only people say that, okay, I will fine tune it with my own custom data and create a new model. We'll say that, okay, your company org GPT OSS model, correct? But there is another way to do that, which I like it better for my product use case. So today, if I'll ask what is the weather like in Paris today? So because this model is not trained on that, okay, at this point, what is the weather? It will simply say, I'm sorry, but I don't have access to real-time data. But most of the time, whatever the research paper, everything we are saying, that can work with your static LLM models, which are trained on based on some years, correct? Whenever you use some model, they also tell that, okay, this has a knowledge base till this month and this year. That means after that, if something has been changed, it will not be able to tell. But that data is stale now, and it will not solve all our use case. We need something, either I keep on updating my own model if I'm doing fine tuning, or I need a way to get a real-time data. So that's how the concept called as a function calling a tool. So they call it a different name. I call it as a tool. So you can say that, okay, whatever that knowledge you have it, but you have some extra knowledge, which I'm telling you. So here, if you see, I just copied the same thing, and it is saying that, okay, let me create a tools. So tools are nothing, just some schema definition, which say that, okay, there is one tool, the type of the tool is function, and that function name is get weather, simple. And when you should use this tool, I provide a description. Whenever anyone is asking a question about a current temperature for a location, you can use this if you don't have the answer. Same way you can build that, okay, if anyone is asking order related information or the some product information, you can say that, okay, this is one tool where you provide the product ID, you will get the answer. Okay, like that you build a tool, and then you can say that, okay, what should be the input parameter for that tool to be called. You give that, okay, this will expect in object, and I expect the location, and the type should be string, and this is required. So that means if the user query does not contain a location, that means you cannot use this. Okay, like this you define whatever the optional parameter, mandatory parameter, like that you define, and you give that, okay. Now before that, if you have seen the instruction, it has only model and the message. Now I see you have access to the tools also, and in that also you can say that, okay, whether you should select automatically, or you can decide which tool I want to always select first. There are different way will be there based on what SDK you are using or how you are making API call. So now if I'll ask this question, so first thing I will show you the real debugging also. Let me clear the log from here, so you see what is happening behind the scene also. Okay. So I call this node tool.js, correct? Means the same method. So here if you see, I put in some logs here. First thing, whatever the response you got from the assistant and the tool calls, means in this it returned that, okay, there is a tools available, and the tool is saying that you should call the tool. The name of the tool is get weather, and the argument should be location should be Paris, because I asked a question, what is the weather like in Paris today? So LLM helped to detect which tool I should use, and because that tool is asking for a location, and in this user input, which one is the location, there I have not written any reject that, okay, these are the available reject location only, correct? The LLM detect that, okay, Paris is a location, so it is saying that, okay, you can call this. And then after that, because here I am not using any advanced SDK which can do everything behind the scene, so this is the first response. I call this. So instead of getting the previous answer where saying I'm sorry, but I don't have access, it returned me a response in this format saying that, okay, I don't have the answer, but I see there is a tool calls. You can call that function with this parameter and call me again. I will give you the answer. So it gives me. Then what I did, I pass this response and I call the function which I written here. It's a simple dummy function for now. You can make a real-time API call or DB call, whatever you want to do based on the input parameter. Give the return. Okay, you decide what you want to do. You call that function, get your own context, and once you get the context, you get the result. Here till here, LLM is again not there. Then I'm saying that, okay, now I got the context. You are asking for a weather information of a Paris location. You did not have access to the location. Now I'm telling you that, okay, this was the original question. This is the message, and this is the response. It adds extra context saying that, okay, this is the response of a role as a tool. So there are 3 roles available, like user, system, tool. So you add that and then give the same payload to the LLM. Now this time what LLM will say that, okay, you are asking this, I did not have access, but you have told that, okay, there was a tool available, in that there was a response, and based on that I had given a return response like this. So Paris today is the temperature 18-degree, condition is this, like that you got the answer. So this is how you build this can become a single endpoint where you take the input and behind the scene you do all the logic.
So VP, why is the intermediate step required? So let's say if you have told LLM that, okay, there is certain tool which you can use for this use case, and then you have given, let's say, कि आप ये tool का, this is how you have to call that tool. So why LLM can directly call the tool and give you the response, right? Why
I think LLM cannot execute anything currently. It can only give you the response. Now it's up to the what SDK use. They, whatever the things you see it here, I have written the code. If you use Google ADK or any other, they do this thing behind the scene. So when you call their method, let's say Google ADK dot chat complete, you give this message and give the tool. At the end, you directly get this response. You don't know what is happening behind the scene. But for this training purpose only, I created in such a way that you know what is happening behind the scene. But I don't think LLM can execute anything.
So you're saying अभी जो tool calling वगैरह की जो capability आ गई है, after that also it cannot call it.
It cannot call it.
It needs some other tool to basically orchestrate that and then give it the prompt.
Yes.
No,
So
I think लाइन 57 पे वरुण जो आप स्पेसिफिक कॉल कर रहे हो गेट वेदर को, आई थिंक वी कैन गेट दैट टूल नेम फ्रॉम द रिस्पांस ओनली, राइट? एंड देन
Yeah, so I've just hard coded this to get weather because I have a single one, but from the args, this call itself, I will get that what is the name of the tool, which method I need.
वही चीज तो आई थिंक कुणाल इज आस्किंग कि नाउ LLM knows that it has.
I think Kunal sir is asking, you don't need this code itself. I just call this and it should give me the result, correct?
हाँ, मतलब मैं कह रहा हूँ कि टूल आपने बता दिया उसको LLM को, and then let's say कि वो HTTP API है, right? So it's not able to call. So I thought कि वो function calling support जब LLM कर रहे हैं तो this has inherently come, but I think it's still not there. Right? You have the latest information on this, right?
Yeah, so that's how it works. So now let's see in the behind the scene what is happening, correct? So first time when I've given, I asked.
So thoda sa, I have one related question here. So from the architecture perspective, so I have some consumer of this APIs. I have one layer of the APIs. ठीक है, REST APIs normally. Then behind the scene, जो trained data है, so it's would be an async thing to train the data. So that how the trained model, is it stored directly in the database, like for example vector database, or is it in memory? So for example, I need to understand कि architecturally there is one layer of ML model also, but how does it serve to that HTTP request?
This part I don't know how this model has been created and how this is running in your system. Okay. I don't have that level knowledge. Sorry, sir.
अच्छा, no,
एक बार आप बोलना question. I will try to answer this, right?
See, मतलब I'm a client. मतलब वरुण ने एक बहुत बड़ा product बनाया and he exposed the HTTP REST API, right? I am the consumer of it, right? I'm calling those APIs. Key, what is the weather in Paris today, for example? Then this API parses and all those things. Then it again, it's a like microservice. This is a one microservice. It will again try to connect to the actual knowledge source. Now, knowledge source I'm abstracting. Okay, whether it will be a
database or some API.
A service directly interacting with the vector database, or a model dynamically loaded into the memory, and whatever the query is that is evaluated based on that memory dynamically in double quotes. And based on that, the response is written back. So
nahi samjha question.
No, I still didn't understand the question.
So I think I got in some context. So Ankit sir, this
okay. So let me rephrase it. You have trained your model in an async way, right? Where is that trained model stored?
Okay, so the model. So there are two things, right? What BP right now is showing here. What he is showing is that, let's say this is ChatGPT ka open source model, right? That he is showing, and then he can just take that model. So it's like आपने Maven use किया, right? Maven या Gradle use किया होगा Java में, right? So what it does, it just connects to an Artifactory store and then it downloads a library, right? So similarly, let's say you can download this thing, or let's say आप Hugging Face या इस तरह का कुछ use कर रहे हो, which is like an Artifactory store itself for models. So it can download the model. Right, so there are two ways to look at this. Either you download the model and run it on your local. So you were showing earlier that Llama या फिर कौन था LM वाला जो था.
LM Studio, yes.
LM Studio. So now there are some models that you can come, but those would be of a lower, let's say 15 billion or 20 billion parameters ka. Beyond that, maybe you will not do because your laptop will not support that kind of a resource, right? You don't have that kind of resource. So what you will do is let me just connect to a hosted model itself, which could be a GPT. GPT hoga, so I think it's a paid, so it will ask you for credit card information, and then it will give you a HTTP interface. I think you have already used it.
If you see it here, that time you will provide the cloud URL and their API key, because
so API key and आपने ये दिया, and then
that's okay. This REST again connecting to their layer of the REST, but that REST is directly connecting to the trained model as from the database. मतलब जो भी evaluation हो रहा है इस query का.
नहीं सर, इसमें डेटाबेस कहाँ आ गया? मुझे लग रहा है थोड़ा सा आप अलग तरह से समझ रहे हो. तो आपके पास एक मॉडल है, देखो जैसे आप चैट जीपीटी यूज करते हो, राइट, या जेमिनी यूज करते हो, तो आप क्या कर रहे हो? आप एक ब्राउजर पे जा रहे हो एंड ब्राउजर उसके एपीआई को कॉल कर रहा है, राइट, अल्टीमेटली. उसने अपनी कैपेबिलिटीज को एक एचटीटीपी एपीआई के बिहाइंड एक्सपोज कर दिया. दैट्स द रीजन यू आर एबल टू कॉल थ्रू ब्राउजर, राइट? So now what's saying is, instead of going to a browser, I can connect the same HTTP API from my.
That's my question actually. Architecturally, that's my question. कि API में REST API तक आ गया. This is my query. मैंने query भी देख ली कि this is my payload आ गया मेरे पास. Right. Now how would I how would this query actually be evaluated on the model? मतलब एक मेरा micro service होगा जब मैं इसीलिए क्वेश्चन पहले पूछा था कि जब मैं when I train the model, like for example if I say okay I have the like trained model, where do I store it? Is it, say for example I would have multiple instances, ठीक है, जो उस मॉडल को रन कर रहे होंगे बिहाइंड द सीन सर्विसेज, चैट जीपीटी हो, जेमिनी कोई भी हो, ठीक है, तो वो इन मेमोरी होता है हमेशा, या दे ऑलवेज इंटरेक्ट विद द डेटाबेस, वेक्टर डेटाबेस?
नहीं, ओके,
वेक्टर डेटाबेस में क्या स्टोर होता है?
नहीं, ओके, सो मॉडल जो हम व्हाटएवर मॉडल वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट, इट डज नॉट यूज अ वेक्टर डेटाबेस. ये जो एलएलएम या चैट जीपीटी इनकी बात कर रहे हैं, इनफैक्ट इट डज नॉट इवन यूज एनी डेटाबेस आल्सो. डेटाबेस यूज नहीं होता. व्हाट दे आर डूइंग अल्टीमेटली इज दे हैव based on the pre-training data, they have created a huge set of weight. उनका एक weight file होगा, and based on the data, that weight file is like a very very large vector या embedding आप बोलो जो उसका create हो गया होगा, right? जब when you are calling it, it's just taking your input as a let's say a text prompt, and then it's trying to generate कि उसके आगे क्या prompt आएगा बस, and that is giving you as a response.
यही है जो abstraction है, मैं थोड़ा सा इसमें drill down करना चाह रहा हूँ from an architecture perspective. Basically the interaction, मैं ये इसीलिए मेरा question remains कि when we train the data, so are you saying the trained data, we are not like keep on training for each query, right? We will train it in one time.
So there are
right?
two stages.
So we will put it in a database, you are saying.
There are two stages for LLM. One is your training phase and one is inference phase, right? So whenever we are using any application as a consumer, it's an inference phase of that LLM.
ठीक है, तो inference engine, how does it use the trained data? कहाँ से उठाता है वो ट्रेन डेटा? कहीं ना कहीं तो मैं उसको परसिस्ट करना पड़ेगा ना.
नहीं सर, यही सो फंडामेंटली यही समझने की जरूरत है. सो आई थिंक आप अभी ना समझ रहे हो जैसे टीयर 1 टीयर 2 का जो हमने अपने समझा है, राइट? सो दैट देयर इज अ नेटवर्क, सो दैट देयर इज अ क्लाइंट हु इज सिटिंग समवेयर, देन इट कॉल्स अ सर्वर एंड देन सर्वर टॉक्स टू अ डेटाबेस, राइट, एंड पुल्स द डेटा. सो ये वाला आर्किटेक्चर नहीं होता है एलएलएम का. एलएलएम इज कंप्लीटली बेस्ड ऑन जनरेशन, राइट? आपका प्रॉम्प्ट लेता है और वो जनरेट करता है आउटपुट को, वो किसी डीबी से लुकअप नहीं कर रहा है.
Perfect. I'm not denying that. Yeah. I'm saying, मैं इसीलिए पहले स्टेप पे आता हूँ कि I trained my model. What does that mean? मैंने जो वेरिएबल्स हुए, मेरे जितने बिलियंस उसकी वैल्यू आई, वेट्स वगैरह जो मैं असाइन किया, where do I persist that? You mentioned in a file.
हाँ, it will go to some file of course.
It's a huge file. Now there has to be service which will load those weights and all those things in memory. क्योंकि जो इवैल्यूएशन होगा इसका तो in memory होगा ना.
हाँ ठीक है सर, करेक्ट.
LLM मॉडल इज
does, अगर मेरे पास मल्टीपल इंस्टेंसेस हैं, so does every instance load that huge file again? वहां पे कोई स्केलेबिलिटी का ऐसा कोई इशू नहीं है. इसलिए मैं बार बार बोला कि आर्किटेक्चरली मैं इसको सोचने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, कि ये ह्यूज फाइल है, डू आई नीड टू लाइक लोड इट, लाइक इट जस्ट अ डेटाबेस नाउ फॉर मी. मतलब ठीक है, एब्स्ट्रैक्ट कर दिया मैंने डेटाबेस टर्म को, मैं एसक्यूएल इन टर्म्स उसके टर्म्स में नहीं बोल रहा हूँ, ठीक है. समथिंग knowledge engine is it's a huge knowledge engine that is laid on my persistent storage, ठीक है. अब उसका कुछ portion है that I have to load into memory to do evaluation on this query, ठीक है. तो अब yeah, okay, it might make sense कि let's load everything in memory, ठीक है, do that evaluation, ठीक है. वहां पे इसीलिए बोला आर्किटेक्चरली, मतलब इज देयर एनी स्केलेबिलिटी इशू, मतलब हाउ डू वी हैंडल दैट काइंड ऑफ.
धीरज, यू हैव रेड अबाउट दिस, राइट? ये कैसे वो यूज करके इन्फ्लुएंस करता है, राइट? मतलब फ्रॉम अ स्केल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू.
नहीं, उसको मैंने नहीं करा इस पे, क्योंकि हम तो जैसे कि कोई मॉडल होगा हमारा, कोई भी मॉडल होगा हमारा, एटलीस्ट 20 GB, ऑलमोस्ट 20-30 GB के मॉडल होते हैं, राइट? Then you'll be loading only few parts of it, not like too much.
Exactly my point. कि अभी मैं पेरिस का लिया है, सपोज करो उसमें सिर्फ इंडिया का और ऑस्ट्रेलिया का डेटा पड़ा हुआ है, ठीक है. सो या आई नो, बट एक्चुअली ना बेसिक सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियरिंग वहां पे भी हो रही है, बेसिक आर्किटेक्चर सेम है, मतलब इट्स नॉट दैट मच ऑफ अ डिफरेंस. वहां पे वर्चुअल पेजिंग, मतलब पेजिनेशन हो रहा है, जो मेरी रैम सीपीयू इज लोडिंग, मतलब वो कर रहा है, ठीक है, जो भी कर रहा है रैम के अलावा जो रखने के लिए माइट भी वहां पे मैं B+ जो भी मतलब मैं करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि जो मेरा क्या बोलते हैं उसको, पेज साइज होता है शायद, वो जो वर्चुअल मेमोरी का होता है, जो उसको मैं लोड करता हूँ, पेजिनेशन जो पेज का साइज होता है, जो B3 का जो बेसिकली वो होता है, नोड होता है फाइनल, उसका साइज के बराबर होता है. तो मैं उस तरीके से लोड कर रहा हूँ. तो आई एम जस्ट थिंकिंग इन टर्म्स ऑफ दैट, एक आर्किटेक्चर की सब कुछ मेरे पास है, एवरीथिंग आई हैव क्रिएटेड अ प्रोडक्ट वेयर आई ओन एवरीथिंग, ईच पार्ट ऑफ द स्टैक, उस पे मतलब वो करते हैं, ठीक है. ट्रेनिंग दैट्स अ डिफरेंट थिंग. मतलब एक छोटी सी प्रोडक्ट जर्नी और आ गई एसिंक वे में, डेटा इंजीनियरिंग पाइपलाइन है, they bring the data, put into somewhere, ठीक है, in database obviously, run training on that, then generate the model, put it in somewhere, some persistent storage, let's abstract it, ठीक है। तो मतलब भाई अब जैसे अब ये चीज मेरे कैसे आई, एक तो एक आर्किटेक्चरली आई वांटेड टू अंडरस्टैंड अबाउट इट, और सेकंड थिंग लाइक वी टॉक अबाउट एमसीपी लाइक प्रोटोकॉल्स, राइट, ऑल दोस थिंग्स, ठीक है। तो हाउ डू दैट एमसीपी प्रोटोकॉल्स, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आई हैव जीआरपीसी, आई हैव एचटीटीपी, आई हैव टीसीपी, ठीक है, मेरे पास बहुत सारी चीजें, बट ऑन टॉप ऑफ दैट एमसीपी, हाउ डज इट इंटीग्रेट इनटू दिस होल इकोसिस्टम?
That I will cover. The MCP part I will cover, sir.
हाँ, sure, हाँ, perfect. अच्छा, एक लास्ट और क्वेश्चन था अराउंड एक्यूरेसी. I don't know, मतलब जितिन might be in a better position to answer this. मतलब मैं ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ, किसी को नहीं पता होगा, sorry. So basically, if I make a query, मतलब कितना भी डीप में चला जाऊँ, क्वेश्चन पे क्वेश्चन करता मैं चला जाता हूँ जेमिनी पे, ठीक है. It fetches its data from Stack Overflow, Reddit, YouTube. अल्टीमेटली जो इसका नॉलेज बेस होता है, जो रोल सोर्स था, वो ये होता है, ठीक है. नाउ पीपल हैव स्टार्टेड यूजिंग जेमिनी, वहां पे कंट्रीब्यूशन नहीं रह गया जैसे स्टैक ओवरफ्लो पे या जो भी है. तो जो बेसिक नॉलेज सोर्स है जहां से ये अपनी नॉलेज गेन कर रहा है, वही ग्रो नहीं कर रहा है. इट हैज बिकम द होल जो कम्युनिटी है वो बिकम रीड हैवी बन चुकी है अदर देन राइट हैवी. राइट हैवी हम सेइंग कि लोग नहीं लिख रहे हैं, स्टैक ओवरफ्लो पे पोस्ट नहीं कर रहे, ये बहुत ज्यादा रीड हैवी बन चुका है. तो हाउ डू वी ensure कि going forward I have the correct level of accuracy for the model? मतलब how would it grow फिर? मतलब डेटा अगर मेरे पास जितना मेरा डेटा था वो कंज्यूम हो चुका अराउंड 90%, दैट इज अ ह्यूज प्रॉब्लम कि वो कंज्यूम हो गया. अब उस पेस पे जनरेट हो नहीं रहा है डेटा जिस पे मैं कंज्यूम कर रहा हूँ.
तो आई थिंक आपका क्वेश्चन है पहले जीपीटी 4 था, 4.5 आया,
एक्यूरेसी मतलब
डेटा अब 5 के बाद क्या आएगा? क्योंकि
ट्रेनिंग के
एक्यूरेसी पर्सपेक्टिव मतलब
हां ट्रेनिंग होती है करके जीपीटी में, इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन है ना कि जैसे
नहीं. सो क्वेश्चन ये कि अब वैसे यू आर नॉट राइटिंग मोर टू इंटरनेट, राइट? एंड 20 years में जो भी रिटर्न था इंटरनेट पे, यू हैव ऑलरेडी कंज्यूम्ड इट टू ट्रेन द मॉडल. नाउ हाउ डू यू मेक श्योर कि बेटर मॉडल्स आते रहे फ्यूचर में, राइट? तो इसका सर अब so there are some I think some videos on this. What they have tried to show is कि if you see now, so earlier if you see Gemini and ChatGPT and other models and cloud models, their performance varied very, very differently, right? मतलब in terms of the quality of output, in terms of how fast they will give you, right? So they were varying very, very differently. But recently जो भी frontier model कोई भी release करे, जैसे GPT-5 आया या Gemini 3 आया, so up now we will see that they are almost converging. Most of them have like very equal kind of performance, right? Sure. So what is happening is कि because there are no more information available, right?
Exactly. हाँ, मतलब what's next now?
वो सारे के सारे पीक हो जा रहे हैं. मतलब हर आप जैसे 6 महीने पे या 3 महीने पे या 2 महीने पे एक नया मॉडल लेके आ रहे हो, तो आप थोड़ा सा डेल्टा एक्स्ट्रा ट्रेनिंग कर रहे हो, right? Then you have a delta extra data. But that's not leading to like huge performance boost. तो वो converge हो रहा है, वो problem है.
So have we hit the plateau? मतलब is that what
we are somewhere there. मतलब maybe so अभी बात क्या हो रही है, right? To basically solve for this problem is, one is can you use generated data itself to train the model, right? So AI ने data को generate किया, and AI can generate huge amount of data, and then you use that data to generate it.
Actually हाँ, वो inherently उसमें मैंने garbage से ट्रेन किया थोड़ा. मतलब आई एम जस्ट गिविंग एन एग्जांपल कि द क्वालिटी मुझ में ले नहीं पाऊंगा इस केस में उतनी.
मेरा जो प्रॉब्लम है हेलुसिनेट, मतलब वो रियलिटी में वो नहीं है, राइट?
अगर मेरी क्वालिटी का लेवल 8 था, 8 से मैंने ट्रेन किया, नेक्स्ट जो डेटा जनरेट हुआ वो 7.5 हुआ, 7.5 से मैंने किया, फिर वो 7.2 आया. उसका यूनिट में ले रहा हूं मैं, कुछ भी यूनिट ले रहा हूं उसकी. तो ग्रेजुअली द मोर आई ट्रेन द डेटा मॉडल ऑन द जनरेटेड डेटा इटसेल्फ, देयर इज अ डिग्रेडेशन, ग्रेजुअल डिग्रेडेशन, ठीक है, stepped degradation basically in the precision or the accuracy. So basically मैं इस टर्म से सोचा था कि अगेन मतलब इट्स अ गुड साइन, मतलब मैं तो ये कहूंगा क्योंकि we are there to manage the things.
So इसमें क्या हो रहा है कि जो प्रॉब्लम है, राइट? इसी कारण से आप देखो कि ChatGPT and all, they have started taking now a application route, right? बिकॉज उनको ये लगा कि हम जो मॉडल बना सकते थे फ्रंटियर मॉडल, दैट्स ऑलमोस्ट स्पीकिंग. ऐसा नहीं है कि डेल्टा इंप्रूवमेंट नहीं आएगा, माइनर इंप्रूवमेंट्स आते रहेंगे, मतलब जब भी आप मॉडल को ट्रेन करोगे. बट मे बी इट्स नॉट गिविंग यू, वो कमोडिटाइज हो जाएगा, राइट? बिकॉज सबका मॉडल एक ही लेवल का हो गया ऑलमोस्ट, तो बिकम्स अ कमोडिटी. And if it becomes a commodity, then that's not your differentiation. So now what they will do is कि हम healthcare में enter करते हैं या फिर हम एक किसी domain में enter करते हैं, and for that specialized training हम करेंगे, right? So that gives us still like a differentiation, right? और second जो aspect जो और कर रहे थे, जो AGI की तरफ ले जाने की बात हो रही है, right? So maybe सबको ये लग रहा है कि शायद AGI की तरफ नहीं जा पाएंगे because of all these things, because अब हम लोग saturate कर रहे हैं, तो वो लोग and second is, can you do a faster model launch, right? Every 3 months करने की जगह पे can we do? So they are trying to remove the human in the loop, right? मतलब जो calls human ले रहा है data collection का, data को cleaning करने का, finally training का, can model themselves do this step, right? So then this, अगर आपने human in loop को हटा दिया, तो maybe then I think the progress would be much faster.
Yeah, so I think यहाँ पे मेरे 2 points हैं. एक तो ये है कि if you look closely, the data is generated upon the human interaction. मैं हम आपस में बात कर रहे हैं, तो हमारी कुछ इंटेलिजेंस से कुछ टेक्स्ट जनरेट हो सकता है, कुछ कंटेंट जनरेट हो सकता है, ठीक है. एक जितना इंटरेक्ट करते हैं ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन के, डिपेंडिंग ऑन द ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन हमारा जितना भी डेटा जनरेट हुआ वो जनरेट हुआ है, ठीक है. तो अगेन वी नीड द ह्यूमन इंटरेक्शन, मतलब कम से कम एक सोसाइटी से ही जनरेट हो रहा है वो. एक तो ये पॉइंट है. और दूसरा, लाइक फ्रॉम द insider story from many of the huge geeks from the Silicon Valley, they have mentioned ki so we have like billions of variables, right? Now data is consumed, so they are bringing in the mathematicians, जो क्या बोलते हैं उनको, multivariable calculus. So they are doing research on that कि let's tune these variables from mathematical point of view, कि इसी डेटा से अगर मैं 7.5 की क्वालिटी का डेटा ले रहा हूं, तो इट शुड जनरेट द 8 क्वालिटी ऑफ द डेटा. जनरेटरी जो डेटा होगा, दैट शुड बी 8. सो दैट्स अ लाइक मल्टीवेरिएबल जो कैलकुलस वगैरह है, दे आर कम बैक इनटू द बिजनेस, दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग. बट आई डोंट नो, लाइक बहुत दूर है अभी. मतलब मैं इस बात से बस खुश हो रहा हूं कि वी आर प्रीटी मच सेफ. अभी हमें कंट्रीब्यूट करना है बहुत कुछ.
Okay. Let me quickly cover this, whatever is happening behind the scene, because I need to go out also in 5 to 10 minutes. But whatever thing I was explaining, so what is happening behind the scene is that, see, before we were only giving our content as a message, correct? This is the model and this is the content. But with the tools, so what we say, we don't give the complete backend information or a database access of the data. We only say that, okay, along with this, you also have access to some tools, so we can accept this kind of function with what is the description location. You just tell to the that. So whenever the question comes, now LLM, instead of directly returning that, okay, I don't have the answer, it says that, okay, based on that, I tell that there is a choice available for you. And the choice is that there is a tool which you can call it with this parameter. It's up to you to decide whether you want to call or not. It will say that, okay, you ask a question, I taken your question, I did not have an answer, but you only told that, okay, you have some way to get that information. You can call this tool. I'm only giving you that, okay, because that function accepts some parameter, let me give you what are the parameters. This is the response you get. Now you read that response and take a decision, make a API call to that function, how you are handling it, whatever the DB call, API call you have. Once you get the response from your actual microservice or your own content, then again give the same, make a call to LLM, say that, okay, this was the original question, and you told that, okay, I can call this tool. I call this, and this is the response that tool provided. So you just need to make sure the ID which you get from the previous tool calls, you add it in the tool call ID. Otherwise, you will get some wrong answer, and you'll think that, okay, tool call is not working. So this was the tool call you told. I'm giving the response of the tool call, and this is the ID. The same content, I give it back to LLM, and then this time tell that, okay, now based on that, I know this was the tool, this is the actual response, and this is the response I'm giving you. You decide what you want to do. So this is how actually everything works. And using this concept, you can build a number of things. Simple RAG application, you can build a chatbot, you can build agentic, everything. Now you just need to play that, okay, what response your LLM return, you need to decide what time you want to stop. Whether you want to stop in the first response or you want to call it again in the loop or in some condition, you need to decide what point you need to break or stop, until when you need to keep on calling with different parameters or different context. Your complete AI-enabled product will be ready. So this is the only thing which is required. And instead of everyone doing the same work repeated, correct? So there are a lot of open source SDKs available which take care about doing this, all the manual work. You just tell that, okay, I told you, do you decide? So that they call it as agent, and then they call it as agenting handoff. I got this response, I will hand it off to someone else, some different agent that will make a call. But behind the scene, this is what is happening. And the MCP also works on top of tools only. So where instead of you saying that, okay, everything is with me, you say that, okay, you have an access to one server, and that server has some tools written. So that MCP will always return you some tools that will look like this. So that is MCP. There also everything is going like this only. You just tell that, okay, you have access to this, you tell me which tool to call by what parameter, and your SDK will internally make a call to that MCP backend and get the response, then again provide as input to LLM, get the response and give it to the user. So MCP, nothing, just instead of writing everything in one place, you create as a like a reusable tool. So, and why they came up with the new concept called as the model context protocol. It's a REST API only, but it follows one protocol because it needs to understand that, okay, what my LLM is going to give. LLM will always look for this kind of thing. So MCP also, they told that, okay, because this is not like a simple post API call where you can provide. How LLM will get to know that, okay, I have a 10 tools available, which tool to call by which parameter. So you all need to follow one protocol, and that become as a model context protocol.
Okay, so MCP, it's because of the payload structure that has changed in LLM model जो उनको pass करना है उसको, because
the
of
payload. And one more thing, so because you can write MCP in two ways. One is like your standard input output, the second is the SSE, correct? So you only expose one API based on your whatever the MCP client you have. First, whenever they integrate, you need to expose some API in one format. I think some RPC or JSON RPC they have.
Okay.
In that, you need to return that, okay, these are the tools available. You need to expose some API, and it should support SSE model also, so that because my LLM should not wait for everything, you should keep on sending the response in chunks whenever it's keep on getting ready. So a lot of things are there. Maybe I can cover the background of or the internals of the MCP also in the next session. But behind the scene, both are doing the same thing.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll stop here now for today, Kunal sir. Maybe in the next session we can cover other things, but because I have to go out also, sorry.
Yeah, VP, I think very good section.
Yes, it was very nice.
And then how you are using these tools, I think that is very impressive. A lot of things, at least for me to learn right from that.
I have just started
मुझे भी ये लग रहा है कि हाँ, tool using is something that will differentiate you right from other people. And then how effectively how quickly you can use these tools to learn also, right? Or present. I think that I'll definitely try to do, right?
Sure. Yeah, let me know if you need any change in the format or